Hi, and welcome to Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix, editor-in-chief of Weekly Humorist magazine, and this is Talkward, a fun little podcast where professionally funny people come to tell awkward and cringeworthy stories. I am super excited about today's guest, coming all the way from San Francisco. He's in town for the Satire and Humor Festival, which is happening all weekend. Irving Ruan. Did I say that right?
Oh, you got it.
Yes!
Perfect.
Success! Irving is a prolific, successful humor writer.
Yeah, I would say a little bit prolific, but I wouldn't say...
I would correct you and say more successful than that, Marty. You do a lot of stuff for the New Yorker.
Mm-hmm.
You do. You've been in Weekly Humorist, and you are in, and you're the editor of SlackJaw.
That's
that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that's on Medium, and that's one of the top comedy destinations on the web, but also just on Medium.
I believe so. Yeah.
And you guys have lots of comedy stuff happening there, and we're going to talk all about that. And I'm excited to finally get to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen your writing and read your writing, and we've emailed so much, and meeting people in real life is one of the funnest things to do in this internet world, in this kind of writing society where nothing like you don't see anybody in real life. You know, everything's on Twitter. Everything's on. You're congratulating somebody on a great piece that you read in the New Yorker, and they email you, and you see them, and you're like, oh, that's great. But actually getting to put a face to the avatar,
Yeah.
it's like, and people do actually look like their avatars.
Yeah,
I'm surprised by that more and more.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you definitely look like yours. I think I look like mine.
You do.
Although I feel like I've aged, but we'll see how that goes.
I like how you keep in your writing is always very mature.
Oh, thank you.
For someone who is very young. How old are you? You're like 20s.
28, and I think
28.
I'm nearing the end of my life. That's what it feels like.
It's all over.
Yeah.
It's all over from this point. And you're in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Silicon Valley type person.
Yeah, I mean, I think, by profession, yes, although I feel like spiritually, probably not so much.
So I just now, talking while we were walking around my office, which is in a WeWork, which is like full of startup kind of culture. I didn't even realize you were a startup-y person. I only know of you from satire writing. Mm-hmm. So the impression I get from your writing is highly educated, very literary, very funny. So the stuff that you always are writing about that I am always so impressed with is the like so specific, nuanced jokes with like literature or history, or like making something really funny about like Roman times or James Joyce, random, parts of books that no one's read, like that kind of stuff. So what's your background for like education and stuff?
Yeah, so my day job is engineering/consulting. So I majored in computer science in college, and so I do that professionally, and I enjoy it a lot. But yeah, with all the history and literature, I grew up just reading a ton, and so I feel that those subjects have taken a residency in my consciousness, and they won't leave. And so I'm like, okay, I guess I have to use that material. But I do enjoy it. I love to read history and, books in general. So I love doing stuff like that with humor.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a really fun thing to do.
And did you go to college in San Francisco, in California?
I went to college down in San Diego, UCSD.
Oh,
yeah, so
the hens?
What's that?
Is it? No.
The Tritons.
The Tritons.
Wait, there's a mascot?
Is it the
called
the mud hens? The dirty mud hens?
There's a mascot? That's
I think
the mud
there
hens?
is. I think there's the mud hens.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I feel like there's a San Diego. Maybe that could be like a community college.
Yeah, I was just thinking like mud hens. Who would have the confidence?
There are some really terrible mascots.
Yeah.
So you went
banana slugs.
Yeah, the banana slugs. So you went to college in San Diego, and then you went back to San Francisco. To find your fortune.
I wouldn't say fortune, but I grew up in San Diego second half of my life, and the first half I had spent between China and Montana. So
between China and Montana?
Yeah, so my family and I, we immigrated to the States. So I was originally born in China. But
really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Was your name always Irving?
Yeah, that would be cool to say, but I had a Chinese name for the longest time. My parents thought it'd be easier for most Americans if they anglicized it, and so they changed it to Irving, and it definitely became a lot easier for most people to pronounce my name.
Because Irving is a great name.
Yeah, if you're like from 1945.
Yeah, hey, I'm Marty. There's
true.
There's like no Martys.
Yeah. I
After
think you're
the
the first
movie,
Marty, yeah.
Back to the Future was good for Marty's, but bad for Marty's was the movie Marty with Ernest Borgnine, I believe. It was like one of his first. When he was much younger, it was the first live broadcast of a live show, like a live play, and it was called Marty, and it was on, I think it was like NBC or something, and overnight, because it was about like the biggest loser in the world. That's what the story of Marty is, and this guy is just like such a sad sack, and it's like his life's pathetic and it's terrible, and overnight the name Marty, which had been popular, went to like negative bajillion overnight. And nobody named their kid Marty for like 30 years.
Wow, I did not know that was the history of the name Marty.
Zero Marty. So it's usually family names is where it lasted. And people there's Martins out there and stuff. But yeah, we're making a comeback with Marty.
I hope so. Hopefully you can pave the path for everyone.
I hope so.
And I feel Irving, hopefully, if I can pave the path for future Irvings, I'll try to do my part.
Yeah, Irving's a great name. It's good to be. I like unique names that aren't like weirdo names like Apple, you know?
Yeah.
You know, like a classy name that isn't overused. You know, there's way too many Michaels. There's way too many Davids. I mean, they're good names, but there's just like... It hurts your identity, I feel. We're getting off topic, but I was just thinking about this a couple of days ago, how having a name that's unique, like Marty or Irving, creates your personality as you grow up, and you feel special. Like, regardless of if you're skilled in anything. But I feel like you feel like an individual because you have a different name than everybody else. Have you found that?
Absolutely, yeah. Every time when I meet someone new, more often than not, people say, "Oh, you're like your first Irving I've met." It's like, "Oh, I feel very special," and it's sort of like this emotional byproduct. Of
and if you ever hear someone say Irving, it's you, right? It's not like, "Oh, it's that Irving." Sorry, right. I never get like, "Hey, Marty." No, the other Marty. It's just me. But if you're like a Michael. You could be talking to anybody. If I was a Michael, I'd be so used to other people being called Michael. I'd be like, is it, Michael B? Michael J? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there.
Also, when you watch The Bachelorette or The Bachelor, it's always like, Frank F. or, Jennifer B. or whatever. There's so many of the same name.
Absolutely. Chad, Brett, Steve, Chad,
so
Brett,
many Chads.
Steve, and Chads.
So many Chads. What'd you play at Duke? Lacrosse. All the Chads played lacrosse.
Absolutely. Yep. You just know.
You have had a lot of things published in the New Yorker. Most recently was a great piece. I don't have it with me. It was about like adult 30-something clubs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was the title of the piece?
Nightclubs for People Over 30, and I wrote that with Gigi Lee.
Gigi Lee, who's hilarious and funny, and also in my book club.
I wish I was
with Caitlin Kunkel. You should. We should have like a honorary book club group that'll be like you and Lillian Stone and Mia Mercado. It'd be a great book club.
I would love that. American dream right there.
Everybody in the book club is so much smarter than me. I love it. Like, it's fun being around so many like intellectuals. It's very stimulating, and it pushes me to have to like kind of like smarten it up a little bit. My usual friends are very dumb. I usually seem like the smart one. Not with these people. So when you're writing a piece like that, I'm seeing more and more people writing with people, and I think maybe that's because the internet, Google Docs, it's easier to write with somebody. Mm-hmm. For that piece, how did you come up with that piece, and how did you work with somebody who is living in New York when you're in California?
Yeah, so the piece itself was really interesting because, with at least Gigi, when we've worked together previously, we've written another piece for McSweeney's before, but, we typically just kind of just drum out ideas, and I think both of us usually will gravitate towards a particular idea that we both like, and so once we were kind of fleshing out ideas, that one really stuck, and we wanted to work on that together, and what was interesting about working together, at least with Gigi, is that with that particular format, right, it's kind of get in, get out kind of thing. You have all these different clubs, and so it made it much easier to kind of, bucket out like half the clubs, I would write, and the other half, like, she would write. And so we'd come up with an initial list, and then sort of as time went on, we would sort of add feedback, add comments. She would give input on my stuff, I would give input on her stuff, and it was a very seamless process. And I think it really helps that Gigi and I already sort of knew each other in real life, so having that friendship made it much easier to give feedback. Because I mean, with any writer, right, getting and hearing any sort of feedback can be pretty jarring at times. But
people hate feedback. Yeah. It's interesting with writers. I feel like it's two ways. Either you are a writer who is sensitive and cannot take criticism and you freak out, or you're the kind that has such a shell of, I can write 1,000 jokes and you know, I just want one of them to do well. Oh, all of these didn't do well. It's okay. I can pump out 50 more. And it's just like, I feel like that's like the monologue joke mentality in like a late night TV writer room where they just like churn out jokes, and then they're so used to being rejected that they don't care anymore, which is good and bad. Like they can take it and they can keep on being like, no, that's fine. But it's like they become like a shell of a human.
So I feel right now with my writing, but yeah.
So when you guys go back and forth, did you guys, let's take one club, for example, the one where they're snorting vitamin B, right?
Yeah.
Instead of cocaine, they're doing like emergency lines. And which I just bought a industrial pack of emergency like 2 days ago. I'm so happy with it. I've been like on an emergency like daily routine now. So I get that, and it's great. That stuff's amazing. And that your article made me think maybe I should be snorting the emergency. Maybe that would actually make me feel even better.
Yeah,
we'll see. So when you guys broke up the clubs, did you come up with like half the clubs, or did you guys like coordinate? Did you work on both clubs together, or all the clubs together?
Yeah, we started working on all the clubs together once we had the initial draft, but we sort of just kind of.
What did you cut? What was a club that got cut?
Yeah.
Ooh, behind the curtain.
Ooh,
I like this.
Let's see. There was one or two. I don't remember exactly what it was. I'd love to answer that, but I just remember there was a club that we both liked, but then at the end of the day, you know, we had a sort of, you know,
it wasn't the strongest one.
Yeah, it just sort of kind of clashed with the others. But I think most of the stuff we came up with remained in the final version, which is really cool to have.
I think one of my favorite also was the one that was it was like naps.
Oh, the nap lounge. Yep.
Nap lounge.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of beds.
Yep.
It's great.
The dream. That's
it
what
is
I would
the
like.
dream.
Yeah.
It really is. Like as you get, I just turned 40, and I felt like I was 30 up until like the day before I turned 40. You know, like I felt like 28, and then I turned 40, and then like it all just fell apart overnight. Like mentally, I became like 45 overnight. So I went from 25 to 45 in like 2 days. And I go to bed at like 10, and I kind of drone down around 9:45, and I'm happy when I'm just like shuffling around the apartment in my slippers. Like this is like a big night out for me. Like my happiest weekend is like Saturday night, just me.
Yeah. Yep.
Go to bed early, watch some Netflix. It's great.
It's the best, honestly.
It is the best.
I've been doing that for most of my life, and I don't regret it. So that's why I feel like even though as a 28-year-old, writing so many of those jokes.
You got a comfy sweater on.
You know, I got to play the Irving part.
Yeah.
You know, the English butler from 1945.
Yeah. Well, the mascot for Weekly Humorist is Jarvis T. Weekly, who I feel like you would get along with.
I feel so, yeah.
He's got a fun mustache.
I wish I could grow facial hair like that, though. That's the thing about being Asian, is that facial hair doesn't come easily to us.
Oh, yeah.
So
the guy on the fourth floor that I have lunch with, this guy Will, I modeled him after. He's like he's an English guy, and he has that. He literally is one of these guys that has the total mustache, like it's long, and he like maintains it, and he's like British, and he's not even trying to be like a hipster. He's just like a regular British guy who just wears lots of like heavy fabrics.
Wow,
for no reason.
He sounds like quite the character.
He is. He's quite the character. So what do you have in the pipeline for? Like, when you're writing something for The New Yorker or McSweeney's or SlackJaw, do you have a bunch of things that are kind of percolating at any given time?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like, one of the things that I sort of took as a lesson from my engineering and just, you know, science background is that I find a lot of connections between different things. So, you know, growing up and reading, you know, and studying science, there was always other things that really informed a study of a particular discipline. And so I took that same approach with writing, which is, you know, I try to write from a diversity of background. So like we talked about earlier, you know, history and literature. So like I try to actually usually write something in those particular fields because I find that the different fields inform one another, weirdly enough. So yeah, I usually try to work on a few things at once, and it usually I think helps.
Are you thinking about writing like a book, like a novel? Does everybody want to write a novel? I feel like we all want to write novels.
You know, that's what I think, but it seems like a lot of people who write comedy want to write for TV. And, you know, I feel like writing for books is kind of a dying
I want to write murder mysteries.
Oh,
that's what I always have wanted to do. I grew up reading Agatha Christie, and my my grandfather always read mysteries, and he would give the books to my mom to read, and then my mom gives me books. Like, we all are like book people. So I kind of grew up reading mysteries. So I'm not like I wasn't reading great works. I was reading, murder mysteries, which are fun. So I've always wanted to write a fun murder mystery. And I watch, like Murder, She Wrote. I watch way too much Murder, She Wrote. And like Castle or any kind of procedural. Psych. I don't know if you watch Psych, but like I'm a big fan of just like mystery type things. I like funny mysteries because I think there's a lot of fun in funny mystery. But if you wrote a book, what would you write?
Yeah, I feel like for me, it would be very fantasy-based, definitely comedic. So I grew up on a steady diet of Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, and so much of that informed my worldview. So I would love to, embark on a journey that it's, really
so sci-fi funny.
Yeah, something like that. Basically, it would
like
be
a Hitchhiker's Guide.
Not necessarily
Did you ever
that
read
vein.
that?
I love that. Yeah,
Okay.
I love that book. I would probably say less sci-fi and more fantasy. So like orcs, elves, dwarves, stuff like that.
Okay.
But I love sci-fi for sure.
That could be a fun. I mean, I don't know if you've watched. Do you watch TV?
I do. Mm-hmm.
I've really gotten into. I think I gave it the first season. It was kind of trying to find its voice, and the second season, it's great. Is the Orville.
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it.
So it's on Fox. It's Seth MacFarlane, and it had kind of like it's a comedy based in a Star Trek type world. And the first season seemed like it was being kind of like a tongue-in-cheek version of a Star Trek, kind of like a parody. But by this season, the action and the sci-fi and the special effects and the drama of it, it's like a legit, just like a sci-fi type vehicle that is funny also. Like you kind of found that. It's good. So it's like funny, but it's also like, crazy sci-fi fantasy with like fun new worlds, but also a lot of social satire. So they look back a lot. So they'll talk about something happening now, and it will reflect on what we're doing now. So it kind of like it reflects current day politics, but in a way that it's more of a perspective, like a pull out. So what do you watch on TV? What?
Yeah, I've been rewatching a lot of Downton Abbey. So
Okay.
I love.
It's so slow, but it's great.
I just love British timepieces.
It's
masterpiece
nice
theater.
It takes forever to get there, but like it's almost like the baking cook-off, the great
British baking show. Yeah,
where you can watch it and it's not like it's in your face, like it's not like screaming at you. It's like it's like quietly lulling you along, where you don't have to always be watching it 100% to be knowing what's going on. Like you can kind of half watch and be doing something. Like I'll put Downton Abbey on and I'll be like cleaning the apartment, and I'll have it on in one room and I won't miss anything because it's so slow.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah. I'm all about slow for sure.
Yeah, slow's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So when you're not writing, you have a real job.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you do in the real job?
Yeah, so it's a mix of writing code and consulting. So
Code,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
totally different than writing about like James Joyce.
Totally. Yeah, I mean it's fun. I love it. It's what I studied, and I love that kind of engineering work because I feel it obviously works a very different part of my brain. But there's a lot of similarities between writing code and writing comedy, which I don't know if people would immediately glean, but it's something that I draw a lot of parallels. But yeah, so I do that for my day job.
So what's you heard about Musk with his comedy writing algorithms or whatever it is? What's it called?
Yeah,
Thud,
something like that, wanting to replace the Onion or something like that. Yeah,
they're writing like robots that write comedy. And I mean, you're a comedy writer who can write. I would think you could write code that could power a robot. Could you?
That would be awesome. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's fascinating. You should be on that. You should be on the Thud program.
I would love to. I mean, I've been really noodling over the idea of writing machine learning algorithms that would produce comedy where it would digest a particular input, like of a book or an excerpts, or just go through a script, you know, for a movie or TV show, and then try to write jokes or parodies of it based on sort of natural language processing and just like semantic inference of different things. And I think it's entirely possible with the technology we have. It's just a matter of, finding the right particular, AI or machine learning algorithms to kind of find those particular inputs.
Because comedy is timing and patterns a lot of times, right? So if you can boil down a formula for comedy, I mean, rules of three and all that kind of stuff, like you can kind of figure out what's funny and make a robot do it. And then, that's scary.
Totally is. I mean, what if robots are writing TV robots are writing TV shows and movies, and
then, but also the robots are going to be watching it, and we're going to be just enslaved somewhere.
Totally. Yeah. No
we're going to be underground. We're gonna be like the fuel source for the robots.
Yeah.
We're
The
done.
Matrix is gonna be true for
Oh
sure.
God, yeah. We're gonna be in pods with like things sticking out of our heads.
Yeah. Brave New World situation.
Very.
Right there.
I just read that for book club.
Oh, what'd you think of the book?
It's great.
Yeah.
I can't believe I hadn't read it before.
It's
you
so
know?
good. I mean, it seems like a very plausibly real future, right? We're all in sort of the substance.
So relevant.
Soma, we're plugged in. It's just completely
Soma.
just
Soma.
numbed down. And
Take your Soma.
totally. I mean, I feel like Netflix is our modern version of Soma.
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
It like placates us. It's like
Absolutely.
a pacifier.
Totally.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But good book, though. Love it.
Great book. And it like ages well.
Super
It's
relevant.
Super relevant. I couldn't believe it. Like I was reading it, I was like, when was this written? And then you realize, oh, everybody's been ripping this guy off forever.
Absolutely.
Like he invented all of these ideas, and everyone's like, he invented like some of the most basic sci-fi vehicles he just made forever ago. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're an avid reader, I'm assuming.
I try to be. Yeah, I mean, love books. I just feel there's such a source of creativity and inspiration just for me. Obviously, writing about literature, but yeah, I love to read.
What's on the like? What are you reading right now?
Right now,
What's on the Irving book club?
the book I've been really fascinated by recently. I'm going through this biography of this guy named Sir Richard Francis Burton. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he was the first Westerner to make a successful pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina in the 19th century. So he apparently could speak over 29 different languages. He was the first and best translation of the 1001 Arabian Nights.
Wow.
And was, you might enjoy this, he imported the Kama Sutra into English. So he discovered it, and which, something can be said about that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, people didn't know about a lot of stuff that they could be doing.
Totally. So yeah, very interesting.
We could be doing all this stuff, but will she let me?
Exactly.
You don't know. You don't know.
Totally.
Who wrote it? Do we know who wrote the Kama Sutra? Was it a guy or a girl?
I believe it's I'm not sure if it's one person. I think it's a collection of
a whole
authors.
group.
Yeah, it's like the same thing with.
They're like, hey, I tried this thing. Put this in the book.
Totally.
Okay,
yeah.
we'll put that in
Yeah,
the
they all recorded on a podcast. And somebody wrote it down.
That'd be funny. That'd be funny to see like the stuff that didn't make it into the Kama Sutra.
Oh yeah,
The rejected things.
rejected versions. Yeah.
Don't try this at home.
Oh,
this is the stuff
yeah.
that did not work out.
Oh, that'd be a great humor piece for sure.
Very bad results.
Yeah.
You should write that.
Oh,
That's an idea for you.
Perfect.
I want to see that put together. rejected ideas of the Kama Sutra.
Oh gosh. Well, maybe Weekly Humorist can put it up. That would
Maybe.
Yeah.
I would. We can get Gigi Lee on it. You can write something. Who else have you written with for writing partners? Because I'm seeing that more and more.
Yeah.
As an editor, I'm getting a lot more submissions where it's like this guy and this guy, or I got something from Eric Sternberger and Joe Thomas, and then Eric had also written something with Brooke Preston. And then, like, I'll get, like, all these groups now that, like, maybe they took the writing classes together, I think. Did you do one of the writing classes?
I did. So I did I think it was the first course, the writing for online satire. I took it with Caitlin about 2 years ago. And that's what actually initially opened my eyes to the fact that, oh, wow, you can actually write this stuff and people will publish it. Honestly, before that, I had no idea.
That's amazing. It seems like her class started so many people in this direction for New Yorker stuff or for stuff on Medium or stuff everywhere. Points in Case, Robot Butt, Weekly Humorist. Like, people are in the New Yorker, Mad Magazine. It's kind of crazy to think that this Second City online writing class, working from home, remote, started all these people being into this thing that, like, before she started this class, really wasn't the thing. Like, they were just kind of writing alone.
Absolutely. And I think what I would even insofar suggest that the caliber of, I think, Caitlin's teaching was just, it blew my mind because I hadn't taken really no writing classes before that. So obviously I didn't know any better, but Caitlin, herself, she's such a great editor and gives some of the most encouraging feedback. So I can't imagine where I would have gone writing wise if, for example, Caitlin was not the great instructor that she is, right? And I think if I got anyone who's not of a good instructor, I don't know if I would be doing this, to be honest. So I think she had made a profound impact on my life, just being simply a great teacher.
Yeah. I need to take, like, if she does, like, a seminar in the city or something, I need to take it just because I haven't seen that side. I've like read everyone, and I know the people that have come out of her class, and they're so good. And you know, I mean, when I see her, we're just we're having coffee or something. So I'm not taking a class, but I want to learn.
She's a great teacher, so highly recommend it.
And who else is going to be? This is a big weekend. I'm excited that all these people are going to be here. Lillian Stone's going to be here, and Sarah Hoodoo's going to be here, and Ryan, Crack. Oh, Ryan. Ryan, I'm very sorry that I'm saying your name so wrong, but it's.
I always thought it was pronounced Rion. Rion, you're talking about Rion Konc? Yeah. I feel like I'm definitely going to butcher her name when I meet her.
If you're listening, we're very sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
And we'll buy you a couple of drinks this weekend.
Deal.
But she's going to be here. And a lot of people, I mean, James Folta obviously is going to be here with a lot of the stuff. And he has the Night of Humorous Readings, 3-year anniversary is going to be on Saturday. With a lot of big people. Karen Chi.
Mm-hmm. Karen,
she's going to be there. Have you written with her?
I have not written with her, no, but I love her work.
She's very funny.
Yeah, super funny writer.
So this is Talkward, and you have to tell an awkward or cringeworthy story. Do you have any awkward or cringeworthy stories that you can tell me about anything? It could be something that happened to you in San Francisco, something about writing. What do you got, Irving?
Yeah, oh gosh, an embarrassing, cringeworthy story.
Do you have siblings?
I don't have any siblings, to my knowledge.
Only child.
Yeah, I think you can probably tell self-absorbed, narcissistic,
self-centered.
Yeah, totally.
So,
no, I wish I had siblings. That would be fun.
Are your parents in San Francisco?
My parents are in San Diego.
San Diego,
yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm. But let's see, cringeworthy story. I remember this one time. It's stuck with me. So I was really awkward growing up. I feel like in many ways I still am. But this one time, it was, I believe, sophomore year of high school. It was Valentine's Day, and I had a huge crush on this girl. And so I thought, in my own, romantically warped mind of mine, I would give her a rose, right? Because, I'm all about grand gestures. So on Valentine's Day, I showed up and I gave her a rose, and I just walked away. I didn't say anything. Like, Happy Valentine's Day. I just walked away. And what really made it cringeworthy was that the rose I gave her was a yellow rose, which to my understanding is a symbol of friendship.
Yeah.
As opposed to romantic interest, which I believe is right. But, leave it to me, Irving, to be romantically just not aware of anything. So I gave her a yellow rose, basically signaling friendship, and then I just slowly walk away. And here's what made it even more awkward. She is the captain of the speech and debate team, and I did speech and debate in high school. And so we had debate practice after school that day. So I had to, confront her and see her, and it was just not good, and it's super awkward, and even just talking about it right now is making me feel cringe.
That's a good story. I like the romance. That's very good, and it's making me remember something that I had done when I was in, I want to say 7th grade. There was a girl that I had a huge crush on in my neighborhood named Allison, and she was this pretty blonde girl, which is interesting. I went to see Captain Marvel on Tuesday. Have you seen Captain Marvel?
Not yet.
And it was the previews for Captain Marvel was showing all these previous female superheroes, and then it was profiling Supergirl, which was Helen Slater, which is an old mid-'80s kind of a cheeseball reviewed type Superman knockoff that was Supergirl, and it made me absolutely always be into blondes. For some reason, just like this movie impacted me at a very young age. And for some reason, Helen Slater was always like the ideal. So there was this girl, Allison, who was blonde, and I decided I had a crush on her. And I made her. We were making chocolates. We were making chocolates in my mom's kitchen. We were making like Valentine's chocolates with the molds. So we were melting down chocolate and putting it in these Valentine's molds. So I was going to make Allison a box of chocolates, and it was going to be super romantic, and I was very excited about this. So I made her these chocolates, but then I made her this note, but I did the note like a secret admirer note, like a ransom letter. So I was like cutting out the letters from magazines, and I thought this was clever and romantic, and it was only like super creepy and like scary, but then I signed the note like secret admirer. So then I didn't even tell her that it was me.
Oh, gosh.
So I gave her these chocolates, and then she was like, who did this? And I was like, it was me. And she's like, that was weird.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
It was so terrible, Irving. It was the biggest mistake. It was like I was trying to do two separate things, and it did not. Neither worked out. Neither worked out.
Well, the important thing is you tried, which is
I definitely tried.
Yeah.
It was like my first foray into many failures, but it was fine. It didn't matter.
Oh, that seems like something I would have done.
It was great.
Too.
Yeah, it's fun hearing about like young love trying to get attention and then just like horribly doing it wrong because no one knows how to. And you only do things based on what you see on TV or you hear about. Things on TV are completely made up, and they're supposed to work out. And you try them in real life, and they don't work.
Yeah, I feel like romantic comedies do more damage.
Oh yeah.
Good, yeah.
They give you all kinds of hope that you never should have had in the first place.
Totally. Hope is dangerous.
It's terrible. Sure. You're pretty popular on the Twitter in the.
I hope so.
So if people want to follow you, how do they find you on the Twitter?
Yeah, so it's my first name and last name, so Irving, Irving, and then Ruan, so it's just my full name on there. And you're going to be at the Satire and Humor Festival. Do you do comedy reading things in San Francisco? Is there a comedy vibe out there? There is a comedy vibe, for sure. I mean, it's definitely vibrant. I mean, certainly not to the caliber, if you will, of New York and LA, but it does exist. I wouldn't say so much of literary readings. That does exist, but not in the comedic sphere. So there's a lot of, I would say, serious, if you will, literature reading outings, but in the comedy literature readings, very, very, very sparse.
Have you, because you've been to McSweeney's a bunch, right? Mm-hmm. You're a McSweeney's guy. And San Francisco is where McSweeney's actual office is, right?
Yeah, I've actually been there. It's a pretty cool office.
What's that like? Yeah.
Yeah, they
Is Egger still there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he's left it pretty much running to others. Yeah. But my understanding is that Chris Monks, who's the editor of the Internet Tendency, I think he's based out in Massachusetts. Yeah. But the Quarterly Concern, most of the serious literature stuff is based out in San Francisco, and that's where they kind of run their operations out of.
And you've been there?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they have lots of books there?
A lot of books, and they do have very comfy chairs that are symbolic of the McSweeney's logo, so it's just very on point.
That's great.
Yeah.
How did you just kind of show up and you're like, hey, I'm Irving, I write for the magazine online, and they let you in, they're like, oh, okay, come on in.
I wish it went down like that. So what was interesting was I had a piece that ran in the Quarterly Concern in the Quarterly Journal. So
a humor piece.
Yeah. Well, no, it was kind of like a humor piece, but it was in one of the issues. I think it was issue number 53 from last year. And so I got to visit the office. I got a free copy, which was great. Got to meet the editor there, and yeah, it was like one of those things where super cool to kind of see my stuff in print.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Because they do a lot of books that aren't. They do stuff that's like regular literature.
Totally.
Totally serious books. I read The Circle. That was, I think,
Dave Eggers. Yeah,
that was an Eggers book, and I think that the McSweeney's was a publisher on it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read that? That's good.
Not yet. I've heard good things.
The book is good. Everyone said the movie was terrible, but I want to see the movie anywhere.
Yeah,
but it's interesting because The Circle was written in like 2010. It's very techy. You should be reading this.
I know. It's my Silicon Valley badge is really taking a downward spiral.
But it's interesting because we another book that we read for book club. I only read books because of book club, but I mean it forces you into reading, which is great. The interesting thing about The Circle was it was 2010-ish. I'm sure the book probably began getting written maybe 2008, right? Like you start writing a book, it won't get published right away. So the ideas of it are so fantastic at the time, but now 9 years later, you barely raise an eyebrow at half of the stuff that I think he intended it to be like, oh my God. And now we're like, that's the way it is. Like, that's how quickly things have actually degenerated for like, because, it's kind of a Google type satire of like, Facebook and all these things. And it's like, we're almost past some of the stuff that they thought was going to be crazy. We're there already. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah. Just kind of insane too, as someone, who lives in the Bay Area. I mean, I have so many friends working in tech, and so much of the satire and just all these stories you hear on the internet about what's going on at these tech companies, so much of it is kind of true, sadly.
Is Silicon Valley very true? Do you
watch
that? Oh, gosh,
it really hits too close to home. I remember the first season, just, wow, how real it is, because, those archetypes exist. And I've met a bunch of people at cocktail parties where, I try to introduce myself. I try to be somewhat friendly. And, you just get into these really awkward conversations where the first thing that these people jump into is talking about their latest APIs or their latest startups and ideas. And a lot of these are really ambitious, but, that's where most of the conversation is based. And it's just super awkward.
Funding.
Yeah.
Getting my Series C.
Yeah.
Or something.
Totally. There's a joke in the Valley which is like, what is the difference between a shy person and like an engineer? And like a shy person will look at his or her own shoes when they're talking, but an engineer will look at your shoes when they're when you're talking and try to criticize it.
That's fun. As a Bay Area Silicon Valley person, do you have your own aspirations for making some sort of a tech app startup business idea? Do you have anything swirling in your head?
It's funny you mentioned that. I did do a startup of my own a few years ago. So I was a startup co-founder and sort of went through that whole, song and dance. And it was super fun. It was really, hard. I think all the stories you hear of startups raising funding.
Did you raise funding?
Yeah. So we went through all of that and, we built the product.
You had a pitch deck?
We had, the whole shebang, everything. And it was super fun, but really hard. And at the end of the day, we unfortunately couldn't secure additional rounds of funding because in Silicon Valley, the venture capitalists, they want to see hockey stick growth. Yeah. And it's just super hard to make it. And so we couldn't secure additional funding. But, I mean, the lessons we learned, just, the relationship that formed, and just it was super informative and just, taught me a lot through that.
What was the type of company?
Like, so it was a photo-based application, which I know sounds super cliche, but we built this app that at the time, before scanning technology was really fleshed out on the iPhone and Android, we would scan paper photographs, and through automatic perspective correction and image just algorithms, we'd be able to automatically crop and edge detect and do digital healing on these paper photographs that families would have that are 80 years 100 years old, and created a digital ecosystem for that where they could share. So kind of like it was called Heirloom, and it was just digitized paper photographs, and it was worked out really well. We developed some pretty cool
Did anybody buy the technology? Like, has your technology been now incorporated into a Google Photos or Snapfish or something?
Yeah, so what was really cool about it is that at the end of the day, while we did have to eventually sort of sunset the company, the technology and the IP and the service itself was acquired by a company in the Midwest. And what's really crazy about that is that this service and application became super popular there because a lot of people have all these photos. I mean, Midwest obviously is very family-centric, and so they got this really tight community. And what's funny was last year I was in Chicago, and I was getting my interview for TSA Pre at O'Hare. And so I go into the Department of Homeland Security, I get my interview, and they're doing a whole bunch of background checks, right? What's your employment, everything. And one of the officers asked me, I see here, it says you're a co-founder for this startup called Heirloom. I've used this before. I'm like, wait, what? It's like, you're kidding. And he was saying, yeah, no, my family uses it to take photos. Wow. And we shared it. And that was super trippy to see like the stuff I built.
Yeah.
Here, Homeland Security officer uses it, and he's like questioning if like, did I really build that? Which is, I never expected that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a very
it's still being
experience.
used today.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah, I forget that I had that part of my life, and now like I write comment is like, what? Where did all the time go? I've aged considerably.
Was there an app version of it?
Yeah, so we built an iPhone app and an Android app, so it was on both platforms.
I mean, you could have put like Photoshop out of business,
That was the dream.
That was the dream. Yeah. It's like an auto retoucher, kind of.
Totally, yeah. We had digital healing built into the technology, which was something. So one of the guys that we brought on, super cool. He worked at LucasArts.
Yeah.
So he did special effects there, and we had him work with us.
That's
and
amazing.
He did most of the technology, and just super brilliant guy. But yeah, built that technology, and it was just amazing what he was able to do.
So there's a company. If I wanted to have this done, I could send an old photo in or scan it, and the company exists.
Totally, yeah.
And you had to go through like a patent? Did you have to go through a patent process?
So at the time we didn't, I believe, issue or try to apply for a patent just because it was so fast paced. The last thing we were worrying about was that. But I mean, I can certainly think that the technology we develop could most definitely be, a patent. Absolutely.
You got to patent that. And then you could be a patent troll. You could jump on everybody.
That's the dream. Yeah, that's my next.
The dream is to be a patent troll.
My next occupation.
After seeing that episode on Silicon Valley, I was like, God, that's a great idea. I wish I just bought like anything, just like any application of this and this. Like, well, that's too similar. You owe me $100,000.
Yep.
Okay, fine.
Those people exist, but yeah.
It's like me buying domain names. I own way too many domain names. Because I'm like, oh, I'm going to start this company. Oh, I'm going to start this company. And then I don't, but then I renew them every year just in case. Like, I'll need it. They're all going to go to waste. But I still have one that I bought right when I got out of college. And I can't let it go. I had an app, too. Like, 2009, I tried developing an app that maybe your technology could have helped with. But it was like a closet organizing app. And it was called My Clothes. And you would take a photo of stuff in your closet, and it would automatically, like, cut out with templates, like if it was a shirt or pants or a dress or whatever, and it would make it so you could dress yourself, and it would have your clothes and your avatar would be at the head, and you could like try out outfits and save them. It could have worked. Anyway,
I feel like a lot of fashion companies kind of have those things right now.
At the time, they didn't. Now they do. I was way ahead of myself.
Totally. Ahead of your time.
But then so I finally let that domain go. Like last week, my GoDaddy was like, "Are you sure you don't want to renew it?" I'm like, no. I'm letting go of this dream. But the first thing that I wanted to buy, and I haven't let it go yet, was now it's not even, there's no way to even have it, but it was an internet cafe called Control Alt and Eat.
Oh, I love that name.
Instead of Control Alt Delete, it was Control Alt and Eat.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So now there's no internet cafes anymore, really, but I kept the domain name. So now it's Control Alt and Eat. I have a comedy T-shirt on the Weekly Humorist shop that I designed that says Control Alt and Eat. So at least I have that. So that was like my small invention that I had one of these days.
I love the name.
Thank you. See, you're kind of a tech guy. You
I love
that.
it. Yeah,
this kind of has like a tech nerdy code kind of guy joke to it. So yeah,
I think it works.
Thank you. Well, this is exciting. I'm learning so much about you, Irving. You're very interesting.
Oh, thank you.
There's many sides to you.
Oh. Well,
with the code writing and the comedy writing, but I really think you need to. I want to see something about. Well, I definitely think you ought to be writing an app or whatever for like writing comedy generating.
Oh, I mean that would be. I think that's one of my next big projects is trying to get more into artificial intelligence and do machine learning comedy stuff because I think it'd be really just funny to see what algorithms can generate, like comedy-wise. But yeah, I'll let you know when that happens.
Be like, if we can get a perfect AI like knock-knock joke written.
Oh, gosh, that'd be great.
It'll be like, we've done it! This is great. If people want to visit you online to read your stuff, do you have like a website?
Yeah, they can go to irvingruan.com, so my full name, and then /writing. So some of my stuff is on there, including stuff from Weekly Humorist. You can find it. So all of it's on there.
That's awesome. And do you have anything that's going to be published soon that hasn't been published yet?
I have a few, but I think right now I feel like once I have written something, I just sort of forget about it. So probably stuff in my back burner.
I've found that with writers, it's always like, when's my piece going up? When's my piece going up? And then it goes up, and they're like, great, here's another piece. And you're like, God, aren't you?
Yeah.
Aren't you going to tell people about this one first? No.
Yeah.
Read this one.
Absolutely.
It's like it's such a gratifying thing. Would be you guys like want it up.
Yeah.
And then I want something else up. And I want something else up. And I'm just like, I just want to go to bed.
Yes. Yeah, especially as an editor, I would think you probably, just get a bunch of these
I just want to go to sleep.
Demanding writers.
But they're great. They keep me going. If there wasn't like demanding writers, I would have nothing. To be self-motivating to do all this stuff. Like I wouldn't publish the stuff that I publish if I didn't have people like you and like Kid, and like people who are just like, here's this great article. And I'm like, okay. And I'll like put it up and it'll do really well. And I'm like, here's this great cartoon. I'm like, this is a great cartoon. Okay, I'll put this up too. Like, I'm not like hunting for stuff. It just keeps on getting sent to me, and I'm like, well, I have to put this up. Well,
it's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have. I have like too much good content. Yeah. Well, I'm going to see you all weekend. This is a great way to finally get to meet you.
Totally, I'm so glad I get to do this.
And then I get to see you all weekend. So this will be up. This is Talkward. Thanks for listening to Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix. Check out weeklyhumorist.com and check out Irving's website and all of his writing, and follow him on Twitter. And this will be up. We're doing this live. This is an experiment you guys are listening to because we're broadcasting this live on video and recording it and broadcasting the audio live on the website. So this is just a miracle of many different technologies all happening at the exact same time.
Perfect timing.
And it's just two guys talking on microphones, which is fun.
I'm glad I could be a guinea pig.
Hey, no problem. I think this went okay. Nothing caught on fire. Until next time, thanks for listening. Check us out and subscribe on iTunes and listen at Talkward.com. Bye. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum. That was fun.
It was super fun. That was